Welcome to another segment of Lore You Should Know. My name is Greg Tito, and I am joined by...
Oh, I'm Ari Levitch.
Hi, Ari.
I thought that I asked that as a question.
I know. Sometimes I switch it up and say the name, and sometimes I make you say it. So welcome. Ari is here to discuss what's going on with some of the guilds you can find in the upcoming product, Guild Master's Guide to Ravnica, which will be out on November 9th in game stores, November 20th everywhere else. And it's a deep dive into what's happening in the world of Ravnica, which Magic players, Magic the Gathering players might know a little bit about. Dungeons & Dragons players, you may know less about, but you'll be able to use Dungeons & Dragons in role-playing in this world, and so we wanted to get some lore for you, which is what this Lore You Should Know segment is all about. So we've covered a bunch of other guilds that are out there on previous segments, but today we're going to talk about Rakdos and Gruul.
Yeah. So like the other, kind of the way we've been breaking this down, we've been taking kind of key concepts and looking at how two different guilds represent kind of two sides of a coin. And so what I want to talk about this week, or this segment, one of my favorite elements here is, so in our last segment we talked about the Azorius and the Boros, who are all about keeping peace and keeping order and maintaining the vestiges of civilization, keeping those alive, rather. And these two guilds kind of want to tear it all down. And I love these guilds, so I'm excited to talk about them. So the first one we'll talk about is the Cult of Rakdos.
Cult of Rakdos.
Yes.
So who's Rakdos, and why is there a cult around him?
One of the official guilds is a cult dedicated to a demon.
Oh, yeah. Well, that can't be very good for Ravnica.
It is awesome. So the Cult of Rakdos is named for Rakdos,
yes,
who is the demon, the titular demon. And
just real quick, how do demons and devils and that type of thing work in Ravnica?
So kind of magic in general, angels and demons are kind of manifestations of a certain type of mana, which is kind of the power source of magic in the card game. Demons are a manifestation of that. So in D&D terms, Rakdos as a demon would be a manifestation of evil and chaos and kind of this combination of these two things. And it coalesced in him to create kind of an egocentric, hedonistic, kind of cruel demon who just wants to have a good time.
Okay.
He has lived for millennia and has seen everything, so is easily bored. But if you could grab his attention, which is what many people in the guild want to do, then you have done something. And so what that has done over the years is that Rakdos has, when I say Rakdos, the guild has basically turned into a theatrical, a group of theatrical troops, almost like a kind of, I guess a macabre, like Cirque du Soleil type thing, if you can imagine.
Really?
Yeah.
Where did the theatricality come into it from?
It is this idea of kind of wanting to, the guild itself is very much about freedom of expression, wanting to, be who you are, living moment to moment. Tomorrow is an illusion. Everything is ridiculous. You have to be you every second of the day. Or you also join the guild because you want to impress this awesome demon. So, one or the other. So it has developed into this kind of entertainment oriented show, but with a kind of a cruel bent to it. They want to poke fun at the world kind of around them. They want to show the world that it is ridiculous. They want to, even the fact that their shows are well attended, that the people of Ravnica, they understand that, like, why does this cult exist? But people love the shows, even though they can be violent. Sometimes there is voluntary and involuntary audience participation in this violence. But the fact that they're well attended is proof to the guild itself that what they're doing, they're just proving their whole point. That people need this outlet, that they need to be able to express themselves in this way.
Interesting.
So if you are a player who wants to play a character that kind of wants to kind of show that and kind of show the absurdity of it all, and just kind of have a good time, or you want to play this kind of acrobatic, theatrical character, and the Rakdos is very much for you. Yeah, they tend to attract lots of humans because humans are kind of the largest kind of race in Ravnica, and a lot of goblins are attracted to that as well because they have, the Rakdos performers have no regard for personal safety or for the safety of their audience. If they go out literally with a bang, and if they die doing it, but it's a memorable show, they've lived a good life. Like, they've done the thing, especially if Rakdos is in the audience, if the demon Rakdos is in the audience, and you've actually impressed him.
Is that a common occurrence for the demon Rakdos?
It is not. So you kind of have to build up a reputation until, he might hear about it and then might attend the show.
Does he have a special box, or does he sit
probably? And he's
rabble?
Really big, so there's probably like this big open space for him.
You know it when he's there.
Right.
It's like the Mr. Guffman. He's going to be in the front row.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of thing. Excuse me. But, so if you wanted to play different kind of options for playing, is if you wanted to be, you could be a fighter and that is more kind of acrobatic kind of focused, or if you wanted to be kind of more of a bruiser but be in this theatrical space, you could do that. Or if you just wanted, I just want to play a character that likes to hurt people. Which, yeah, but you could do that here. There's an outlet for you. But if you wanted to incorporate, kind of like fire into your, they have a lot of fire and kind of lava motifs to them. So if you wanted to play an Eldritch Knight and kind of augment your performance with magic, you could do those types of things. You could be a warlock and, with the Pact of the Fiend, and that fiend is the Demon Lord Rakdos himself this time around, so you could kind of pull that. Yeah, so it could be kind of fun there. You could be a bard with the College of Valor, and you can kind of, you could really double down on being this kind of entertainer. So you don't necessarily have to be kind of cruelty-minded. You could be here because I believe that, the mores of society are too burdensome, and I just got to be me. You know, so this is also a place to be that character. So if you could be heroic in Rakdos if you believe the Azorius are actually being oppressive with their laws, or if you think that one of the other guilds are getting too much power where they'll be in a position to start imposing their values on other people, then as a Rakdos performer, you will take it upon yourself to kind of cut them down a little bit, to kind of knock down their ego or diminish their ability to do that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Do they you mentioned how they were like poking fun? Is there a lot of satire in their shows?
Absolutely. Yeah. So satire is a big part of it. They might have effigies of political figures, or they might at its most basic form they might tell kind of tell silly jokes or whatever, or satirical jokes. But that thing can escalate, and they might be able to foment a riot out of it, and that kind of a thing, which they would also totally love. They would see it as more just performance art or performance rioting, that kind of thing.
Performance rioting.
Yeah. In fact, when we were doing the update to the guild, when we were designing the card set, one of the top lines for them was just like, keep us all on the same page, was performance rioters. That's who these people are.
So like a Sacha Baron Cohen kind of feel to this as well.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. I hadn't considered that, but sure. Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
There's a character idea right there.
Yeah, right? Like it's someone who wants to put on an evil version of the greatest showman on earth.
Yep.
Not necessarily. Well, are they evil? Would you say?
So there are a lot of evil characters. Like, make no mistake, they are the cult of a demon lord. so right. There are heroic individuals, but they will definitely lean on the more evil and more chaotic end of the spectrum.
Interesting. All right. Yeah. I made a character that was similar to this, as like a evil bard that fit right into this. So
that's fantastic. Yeah, they're a lot of fun, and you can imagine a Rakdos party being a troupe, right? A performance troupe that might go around and set up these things. Yeah, so I think
is there like any kind of like martial performances? Like, is it gladiator, or is it more of the acrobatics, like you said?
So
or does it matter?
It would be gladiatorial if there was some kind of take on it, like, as for entertainment. They wouldn't just have here just have two boxers go or whatever, and or two people with knives just cut each other up. But there is this idea of that they would find beauty in that. So I think you could probably find it, but what is the Rakdos spin on that? What is that kind of either satirical or theatrical version of that?
Interesting.
Even if you were to dress up if it was two monsters going at it, but they were dressed as two different guild masters just to kind of poke fun at it, what would that look like?
Is Rakdos the guild master?
Yes, Rakdos is still the guild master, and he spends a lot of time asleep because he is bored by most things. So yeah, once again, if he attends your show or makes an entrance, it is something to behold. When we were talking about Rakdos in the world building phase, we kept talking about what is it like if you had like, if people talked about the time that Rakdos took the stage and performed. You never forget that. It'd be like, you see Keith Richards or whatever perform, and it's like, wow, like there, just oozes charisma. There's a sense of talent, and everybody trying to garner his favor.
And you said he was really big though, too. So yes. What does that mean? How big?
I'm trying to remember the size chart now. Ben Petrosaur is going to be angry with me. But
like 20 feet, 30 feet, 10 feet?
Yeah, he's probably about 20 feet tall.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. He's a big boy.
He's bigger than a storm giant.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, no, I guess storm giants are like 25, 26 feet.
But he's very big, and he has wings, and he has a giant scythe, and yeah, he's
just like you think a demon would look like.
Yeah.
All right. So when you first started talking about it, I thought it was more like a grassed, the demon lord from.
Oh no! He's a big demon.
He's actually just looks like a.
Yeah. Yep.
He's burly. Interesting. All right.
In fact, the symbol of Rakdos itself mimics his horn shapes. So,
got it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what's the other side of this coin?
So the other side of this coin, the Gruul clans. The Gruul clans are not satirical. They're not really there to have fun in the way that the Rakdos are. Not that you can't have fun in the guild, but it's a different kind of fun. There's kind of an anger. There's an angry bent to the Gruul. They are essentially the anarchists that live in the ruined and places that have been abandoned. Those places in the city belong to the Gruul clans. The Gruul clans are not a monolithic entity. They are the Gruul clans plural, who recognize their guild master is a giant cyclops named Borborygamos. Borborygamos, and he is not the ruler because it just said somewhere that he is the ruler. He's the ruler because he's recognized by all the other clan chiefs as kind of being the toughest. They very much believe like the world is a harsh place, and that civilization has made people weak. And so whether because they were slighted by or marginalized by civilization, or truly believe that civilization has made people weak, they want to tear down all edifices of civilization, both physical and institutional. They just want to destroy it all. Their kind of belief system is known as the old ways, and there's this kind of primal energy that they believe kind of had surged through the world before people built this city, and they want to kind of unleash that again. They want nature to be in its most raw form, even though that is brutal. So like where the Selesnya are a group that believe that nature and civilization can be in harmony, the Gruul think that's nonsense, that civilization, just the existence of civilization, is already an affront to nature. And so those that are more spiritual minded will be motivated by that, and other people who are more kind of, I guess, the opposite of being civic minded, they just want to tear it all down and kind of just like dance in the rubble. And so
their Fight Club, level of just burning it all down.
Yeah.
But they don't even want to start anew. They just kind of want it to go back to
that's the thing.
A pre-guild era for Ravnica?
Not just pre-guild, pre-city, pre-civilization. They want to just do away with all of this. The fact that guilds are a thing is just another layer of unnatural nonsense.
But they still enjoy all the efforts of being a member of a guild, though.
Yes, because officially they had to be official. But if you ask an average, member of a Gruul clan somewhere, like, what do you think about the guild system? whether they'll probably be like, it's all got to go. You know, they're not interested if they're even fully aware of the nuances of all the guild relationships.
Because all they see is just fire and
it's all nonsense to them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that there was different clans. Like how is that organized?
So if I'm a member of a current clan, I may build up enough strength and enough followers in my own ability that I may splinter off and form my own clan. Some clans may actually be bound more by their approach to destroying civilization or surrounding a key person. Some may be more aggressive in taking the fight to people. Some may be more reclusive and just be like, I just want to live in the Rebel Belt and you leave me alone. In fact, there's also a type of member of the Gruul who is not part of any clan, that they see even membership in a clan is too claustrophobic. And so these are known as Trogs, and these are kind of just like lone wanderers in the Rebel Belt. Yeah. And if you happen across them in the Rebel Belt, then you're dealing with somebody who could hold their own out there. And that's where you have large monsters that can roam. So these are people that can really hold their own. These wilderness kind of survivalists who want nothing to do with civilization at all, or even any clan affiliation. They don't want anything to do with any of it.
What is the rubber belt?
The Rebel Belt. The Rebel Belt is kind of a take, how in cities you have green belts, which are, parks and things. So the Rebel Belt are just ruined, like swaths of ruined space. Whether they were abandoned because, an explosion caused a disaster and everybody had to evacuate and then nature just kind of reclaimed it, or it was something that they carved out themselves by attacking and raiding a neighborhood. These are just places that the Azorius or the Boros or any other guild has not been able to kind of bring back into the fold of civilization. And there are some areas are some precincts. There are larger Rebel Belts than others. But they basically this is Gruul territory.
So it's not a literal belt; it's just kind of an area that has fallen into ruin, and that's just where the Gruul tend to congregate. Are they in other areas? Like, would you, even though they might detest being around so much civilization, do they infiltrate into those areas?
I don't know if infiltration is really their thing, but they will. I mean, there are Gruul members that might go and they might go sit and enjoy a Rakdos show, or they might go to a marketplace and sell pelts or whatever, or trade pelts for something. It depends on, personally where a member of the Gruul stands in their relationship to civilization. But I think by and large, most people would be uncomfortable by by members of the Gruul showing up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What type of characters kind of gravitate towards the Gruul?
In terms of races, humans, centaurs are ones that we saw in Selesnya, but some of the more kind of so they believe that civilization's too stifling. They might go to the Gruul. A lot of goblins show up in the Gruul, and some minotaurs as well. And then it's also made up of a bunch of different monstrous races as well. So you might have like the Guild Master itself is a Cyclops, or there are ogres or giants and things like that. So it's a pretty eclectic group. Because a lot of these are the individuals or groups that have been kind of marginalized by society in some way.
Got it. And you mentioned the Cyclops. So what's the temperament of him? Like what's?
He is the grueliest Gruul.
Whoever Gruuled.
Yeah, he is short-tempered. He is always ready to protect his status. And what I mean by that is that. The way you would defeat him and take on this role of Guildmaster is by defeating him in combat. Trial by combat is the way the way you settle scores in the Gruul. And so right now he has not been beaten. There have been a few people that have fought him. Rarely do they survive. So yeah, he's kind of a force of nature in that way, of just this this just raw physical energy of just being able to knock down buildings and just basically be a wrecking ball himself. How
long has he been Guildmaster?
I actually don't remember how long he has been a Guildmaster, but it has been. He was not the parent, so he was not the founder. But I don't recall how many decades. It's been decades, but I don't remember the exact number.
Okay,
yeah,
but not centuries, not millennia, like you've said about a lot of the other ones, right? Like he's relatively recent.
I say right until somebody corrects me.
Okay, we'll see if that happens in.
I'm Gruul, so who cares about these numbers and dates anyway? So.
I've only been alive for forever, right? So what kind of characters would you see as a party in playing it?
So one of the fun things, if you're going to build a party, you can imagine that if you're doing an all Gruul party, it might be you're all part of a new clan, or you're the remnants of a clan that has been destroyed, or you're all new members of a clan. Is
clan based similar to the guild in that you can choose to be in a clan, or is it more familial?
You probably, it's interesting because it could be familial. It could be that you choose, or a lot of it is this notion of you follow who you think is strongest. So, but if I'm born into a clan, let's say one of my parents is the chief, I may, this is my clan. So you might have that kind of pride, or you may go off and do your own thing.
Got it. Okay.
Or you may just go off and be a Trog and say, forget all of you. So
a lot of Gruul could be antagonists in your D&D.
Absolutely,
game.
They're an easy antagonist. You can imagine, like if you're playing and your whole deal is that there's going to be a Gruul incursion into this neighborhood, and let's say you're a member of the Boros, and you have to hold this fort against a Gruul assault. So they're really easy. Or you have to venture into the Rubble Belt because you have to, let's say they captured somebody, or they stole an artifact of some kind, or they're about to destroy something important that they found out in the Rubble Belt, and you have to venture out there. So you have to deal with the Gruul, and you have to deal with the monsters that are out there, and there's this kind of wilderness kind of campaign vibe that plays out that way.
That could happen in a part of a ruined city.
Yeah, that's what's so fun, is that you can... Ravnica is diverse in that you could have a whole swath of wilderness in the middle of a city.
Yeah.
Some things about the Gruul, like most members of the Gruul are called anarchs. They're known as anarchs because they just want to tear it all down.
Yeah.
So in that case you might be a fighter. You might be a barbarian with the path of the berserker. But if you are more spiritual minded and you want to be a barbarian, you might take the path of the totem warrior because you believe in the old ways, and so you're kind of channeling that.
Is that really the old ways? Is that the way where Ravnica came from? Was it used to have this kind of guild-like, a clan-like structure?
Perhaps the Gruul aren't known for keeping records. So, they're not known for their books, but there's a sense of truth because it's evidence in the power that they can tap into. What exactly that is, or what the old ways were for reals, we don't really know. But their spellcasters can draw energy from a source that they have identified as the old ways, or that they've labeled the old ways. Oh,
okay. So there are, are they more like shamanistic?
Yeah. So you could imagine, if you are a let's see, if you are a druid, you could be, a Circle of the Moon, or if you're even a cleric, you could be the Tempest domain, drawing on these storms and drawing on the power of just nature itself,
right? Which
is exactly what the Gruul are all about. And one of the things you could kind of note about the Gruul visually is that they have these kind of angular tattoos all over their bodies. And what that basically means is you have to earn your tattoos. And there's kind of a topographical map kind of texture to them. And there's this kind of tradition that they have that whenever you commit an act of that will kind of help tear down civilization or whatever, you tattoo where that happened. There's a sense of place on their body that I'm the one who destroyed, this statue, or I broke down this building or whatever.
Yeah.
But you have to earn your tattoos. And to join the Gruul, regardless of clan, you have to go through an initiation rite, and it's basically they bury you alive.
Oh,
and so that your old person dies, and then when they dig you out, you are now a member of the Gruul. You are born again, and rather than resting on your laurels of like, well, I was once a fighter in the Boros who wanted to turn away from civilization or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter what you did before. You now have to prove yourself all over again as a member of the Gruul. So there is this sense that you have to shed all traces of civilization when you join the Gruul.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you earned your tattoo?
I have not that tattoo. Different one, but I have not destroyed any buildings or toppled any statues. But
there's wind though. It might have happened.
Yeah, I just gotta say I love playing Gruul characters, just because if you ever have a tough day at work and you ever feel like throwing your computer through a window or something, or you just want to wreck something, it's like the Gruul allow you to do that. It's a lot of fun to just feel like
Hulk smash.
Yeah, Hulk smash.
Right.
There's something just kind of liberating about being that character. And I tend to play characters where I just kind of want to see things kind of happen. I want to kick down doors or knock them
kick
off
down
hinges.
The society down.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
There's something just fun about kind of just being that character that kind of just get things moving.
Right.
So there's kind of that kind of fantasy fulfillment about both the Rakdos and the Gruul, about just you're doing things that you don't get to do. I could go stand in line at the DMV and feel like it's a glorious experience, but I can't go. I can't go summon a giant monster as my buddy and then go wreck some buildings.
But there is also I could see a scenario in which a Gruul member does not want to work with other guild members, but is forced to for whatever reason.
Yeah, and it could be all sorts of things. Imagine if you're Gruul, and part of the beauty of playing on Ravnica, by the way, is that you don't have to create parties that are just of one guild. Yeah. Right. Most of the time, you're going to be playing with members of different guilds, and so what's awesome about it is that there are contacts that you create throughout the city. You're not living in isolation in your guild. You live in a city. So if you're a member of the Gruul, and you may have a sibling, I may be your brother from the Orzhov or from the Simic.
Yeah.
And the reason we're adventuring together is something happened to our other sibling, or something happened to a parent, and I got to come back to you, and you're like, I thought you were going to go to law school like me, and now you have your tattoos and your mohawk, and I heard you destroyed a government building or whatever.
You wrote an anarchic symbol.
So there's something about that that's really just fun for intra-guild, not just conflict, because I don't want to create this notion that everything is dysfunctional, because there are also bonds there, right? If we are siblings, or if we grew up together, if we just went different ways, you get to play with what that kind of that backstory stuff was. Why are you friends? If that the premise of the game is you've agreed to all sit down at this table and play characters that are going to adventure together, you get to fill in those gaps. And by being from the same place, by being from this 10th district on Ravnica, like something you're forced to come up with connections. And I think that's the beauty. That's the most fun I've had playing so far, has been like, why are we all together? Like, I'm playing an Izzet character right now, and I'm palling around with Selesnya and Orzhov, and Golgari, and it's so fun to see, like, oh, we all grew up in the same neighborhood. We were all just childhood friends.
You're just buddies.
Yeah, we were just buddies, and we all went our separate ways, and now we've had to come back because something from our past has reemerged. Yeah,
so. And I think a lot of humans from this world have a very similar story like that is binding groups together. Yeah,
so I think that's kind of where you really start to see this book as just kind of a D&D experience. It really starts to sing when you start to embrace this notion of each member of your party is part of the city as well. You have neighbors, you have friends, you've had teachers, you have rivalries, and all of these things. You're part of this. So often D&D is this notion of you are exploring a new place, and that you are the outsider finding the new thing and being introduced to that new thing. And in Ravnica, you are kind of you're adventuring in a place that you kind of know to a degree. You know what your favorite pub is. You have your coffee shop that you go to, or where you buy your bread at the market or whatever. These are things that you are familiar with.
Yeah.
And so if you kind of embrace that as you're telling your own story, I think you'll get the most out of a Ravnica experience.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for talking to us about
my
both
pleasure.
Rakdos and Gruul?
Yeah.
I was going to say
And we have
Boros.
2 more guilds, so at some point we'll have to rally up and
We
cover
definitely
those.
will. Yeah, because I want to get the full gamut. And then I'm sure there's other topics that we could cover that people don't know.
For
much
sure.
about. So great. Thank you. And if people want to get in touch with you and ask you more questions about all of these topics, how can they do so?
So I'm still at Winnemall on Twitter, WINNEMALL. And I guess I intend to remain so.
Sweet.
So, yeah.
All right. You won't be Gruul and tear it all down.
Not yet. We'll see.
Excellent.
All right.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ari.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be back with more Lore You Should Know at a later time.